Today, we are going scorched earth on the idea that being married for a long time is some kind of measure of success. We're going live.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
It's Monday, boys and girls. I hope you're doing well. I hope you got to spend some time with your mamas yesterday. We are running a little bit behind this morning, edging the algorithm, but really it's just I have a lot of stuff to share today, and I had to get it all ready, and Chrome was like crashing my computer. I don't know what was going on. It was causing the CPU to spike, and everything was frozen, and I had to reload everything like 3 times. I'm like, what is going on here? The people want this information, and you are preventing me. You're preventing me, technology, from doing that. Okay. Anyway, we're here. Hopefully we have a smooth episode, but I got a lot of stuff to share today. Okay. We are live on a Monday. Friday's episode this week will be pre-recorded. I'll be heading out of town to go visit RP Thor. You guys know RP Thor. You might know him. He's kind of a big deal in the red pill space. RP Thor is having us out, so that should be fun. I'm going to run it. I'm going to hang out with him and Glenn Lawrence, probably. Nurse Chick's coming with me. But the show must go on. Okay, just because I'm traveling doesn't mean the show stops. So I got a pre-recorded episode to show you guys on Friday, right? Today we are going scorched earth on the idea that simply staying married for a long period of time is somehow a metric of success, okay? Or even a guarantee. Also, guys also somehow think that just getting married is success, right? That's a measure of dating success. It's like, dude, anybody can get married. Stop it. That's not success, okay? Considering you get into a marriage and like you have a 50% chance of that getting divorced. You know what I mean? We'll get into all of that today, right? But you often hear people that are like, oh, I've been married for 30 years, right? Or whatever. It's like, oh, dude, you've been married for 30 years? Awesome. I see a lot of people, they're like, hey man, I've been married 12 years, bro. And I'm like, cool. I was married for 14 before my ex-wife threw in the towel. So you're only 2 years away from that, bro. Congratulations. Now, here's a story I found from the Red Pill Archive from a guy telling his story about he was in a 7-year relationship. So not as long as like say a 30-year relationship, but still a lot of this guy's story is very common in this space. Okay. So 7 years, pretty solid run, but it was 3 years of dating and 3.5 years of marriage. So, not as long as, some of these people out there that claim success, but still, I would say it's a relatively long-term relationship. And then, and also most people start getting the itch after 7 years. So this is pretty common, right? So let me drop a link to that here. Let me share the screen a little bit and we can present this. So this article is called 2017. Let's see if we can space that out a little bit better so we can see that. 2017, the year I took the red pill. So preface, I had known of this community for years, but purposefully avoided it. In my arrogance and naivete, I not only thought I'd gain nothing from this forum because I felt like I knew how to treat women and I felt confident in myself as a man on my own terms. I was wrong. Strap in, boys. This is a long one. We're not going to read this whole one. Okay. I'm just going to get to the important stuff. So it goes, my story. Ex and I had been in a committed relationship for nearly 7 years. 3 years exclusive dating, leading to her moving into my home. 3.5 years of marriage with 2 children, a daughter and a son. Between my new family, strong relationship, and highly rewarding, well-paying job that enabled me to support our family with my single income, I thought I had everything I could ever want. More specifically, I did not feel the need to want anything else. I was content, which I now realize contributed to my downfall. One morning, I'm leaving for work. She wakes me up and we hear our son stirring, so she retrieves him from the kids' room. I'm getting ready to leave for work, and when she takes me when she takes me by the hand and tells me, "I want a divorce," with a somewhat sheepish look on her face, I'm stunned, feeling completely blindsided. In a daze, I asked her if I should go to work. Did she want to talk about it? She said there was no point in discussing it and that I should go to work. That was that she was living a life she would never have chosen for herself and retaking control of her future. In my stupor, I prepared to leave when I noticed my keys weren't in my coat where I usually left them. I asked her about them and she said she had taken them and I couldn't have them back. Keep in mind, my name is on the lease, so I had every right to oppose her on this, but I wasn't going to get into it with her in front of my son, so I left for work without them. After that, I was homeless for the first time in my life. Luckily for me, I'd established such a reputation at work that when news got around about my plight, I was offered a chance to rent a place from a coworker that allowed me to stay in the area, keep working, and try to sort things out with my wife. I knew in the back of my mind that things were going to get worse, but I had no idea what she actually had in store for me. So that's the main gist that I wanted to show with that, is that there's a lot of guys out there that think they're in a happy marriage and they get completely blindsided because they have no idea. They have no clue that their wife is unhappy. No clue at all. And they get blindsided like that. That's very common in this space. Okay. So this guy was bobbling along thinking everything was great. He was content, but his wife wasn't. All right. How many of you out there are currently in a long-term relationship, or maybe you're even married, and maybe you have been together way longer than this guy, so you think everything's good now, right? He was only with her for 7 years total. Maybe you've been with your wife for 20 years and you think everything's great. We've been married for 20 years, you know? Just know that lots of guys think things are good until their wife drops that brick in their lap. Okay. Also know that a vast majority of the time, your girl has been unhappy with your relationship for up to 2 years before she finally pulls that trigger. Okay. And during this time, she's getting her finances in order. She's lining up beta orbiters. Hell, she may even be sleeping with one of them and wants to try to make things work with that guy. Okay. You have no idea, no clue. You think everything is fine. But guys, I'm telling you right now, longevity by itself in marriage is not a metric of success or a guarantee. Okay. Okay. That's where we're at. And just getting married is not a measure of success. Okay. All right, guys, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications, and do sound off in the live chat. Okay. That helps these go by much smoother. Some of you guys I know have similar experiences. And if you guys share those, I'll bring it up on the screen. And then please, for the love of God, guys, don't be stingy with those super chats. All right. That helps support the show probably more than anything else. All right. So the whole idea for this episode, right, is this tweet I posted where I was showing this ignorant comment I got on Twitter. Okay. I got this ignorant, and I get this a lot, especially because I'm an older guy, right? Like I'm going to be 45 this year. And I get a lot of this kind of stuff, right? This guy says 40 and unmarried giving dating advice. And I was like, married people don't date. What are you talking about? Now I'm joking. There are married people that date, and those married people are probably one of the small percentage of people that are happy in their marriage. Okay. Which we'll get into. But most people aren't happy after they get married. They're not. A vast majority are not happy. So, so this is just a dumb statement, right? And a lot of people think that though, right? They're like, oh, a measure of success in dating is someone who was able to get married. It's like, not necessarily. What if your goal isn't to get married? What if your goal is to spin plates forever? Then why would you listen to someone who got married? And then oftentimes guys who have been married for a long time forget what it was like on the dating circuit. They're not boots on the ground. They're not doing it every day. You know what I mean? It's like Ben Shapiro trying to give dating advice. It's dumb. It's dumb to listen to Ben Shapiro about dating advice. He knows nothing about it. Right. So let's listen to some of these comments I got. Right. So this guy says, I think the argument is that if you haven't gotten married yet, the advice you have is less likely to result in marriage. That being said, most healthy marriages are due to luck in upbringing and partner choice, not a systematic approach. And I put, like, why would anyone want to get married under the current family law system? Right. This guy says, in his mind, successful dating advice leads to marriage. And I was like, why does marriage have to be the end state? Right? Like with divorce rates, it's like a 50-50 chance that it won't be. It won't, it'll end. Right. So how is that success? It's not. And this guy goes, nah, he makes sense. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure you have great advice, brother, but if you're not married by 40, you're clearly not good at picking the right one. Maybe have one-itis. Who knows? It's like Nick Fuentes talking about women when he's a virgin. And I was like, look, man, I got married. I got married at 20. I got married early, man. So don't tell me about marriage. Oh, you're in your 40s and you're not married. I was married. Okay. Didn't work out. Oh, well, you didn't pick right. Well, I'll tell you what, the person that you marry is not the same person you divorce. So I was just on Nuclear Caudillo's channel last week on Thursday, and we were talking about vetting, right? Like, oh, you just need to pick better. You just need to vet women better. Dude, you could vet all you want. Okay. But if you don't maintain that relationship, you don't set the tone and lead, it's not going to work out. Okay. And even then, you could do everything right and it still might not work out. All right. There's no guarantees here. But trad cons and people that like really preach marriage, they want some kind of guarantee, and they think that locking a girl down and putting a ring on it is some kind of guarantee. It's like, dude, look at the divorce rates. There is no guarantee. Okay. So it's just a dumb quote or a dumb comment, right? 40 and unmarried giving dating advice. That's just dumb, right? I think it's dumb. Okay. Anyway, so that was what got me on this topic, is like people think that dating and then getting married is some kind of metric for success. And then there's people that think that being married for a long time by itself is some kind of metric for success, right? Most people who do end up getting married or end up dating, most people who do end up getting married end up being incredibly unhappy. We're going to get into that today, right? So let's take a minute and look at some people who most would assume were successful marriages simply because of the longevity. Okay. Let's look at this. I have this article here. Let me close that. Yes, this is from BuzzFeed. All right. Come on. Man, Google must have released some kind of Chrome update that is slowing my machine down. That, or it's something on BuzzFeed's site. So there's this article from BuzzFeed. Let me drop a link to it here in the chat. Okay. So the article is, I'm sad for these 15 couples who pretty much spent forever together and then got divorced. So we have the first one, Billy Ray and Tish Cyrus. They filed for divorce after 28 years. So these guys almost made it to 30 years. Most people probably would have been at like the 27-year mark, would have been like, yeah, way to go. Billy Ray, this is a success story in marriage. Look at that. They've been together for 27 years. Divorce at 28. Divorce at 28 years. Okay. Hugh Jackman and Deborah Lee Furness. Okay. Is that how you pronounce it? Furness? Filed for divorce after 27 years. 27 years. Most people would have thought at the 26-year mark Man, they've been married forever. What a success story. Look at this couple right here, right? Divorced after 27 years. Bill and Melinda Gates, right? Bill Gates of Microsoft fame, right? He the inventor, the creator of Microsoft, filed for divorce after 27 years, right? Morgan Freeman and Myra Colley Lee filed for divorce after more than 26 years together. Okay. Jeff and Mackenzie Bezos filed for divorce after 25 years. I think that divorce made her like one of the richest women in the world, right? And all she did was show up. Man built an empire. She showed up and banged him. That's how that worked. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver, they were together for 25 years. Solid run. Chris and Caitlyn Jenner. Oh, that's disgusting. 22 years together. 22 years. Yeah. We have Anthony and Elvina Anderson. 22 years. Right? Jennifer Grey and Clark Gray. Divorced after 19 years. Look at that. Chris Rock and how did you pronounce her name? Is it Malak Compton Rock? Filed for divorce after 19 years, right? We have Kevin Costner and Christine Baumgartner. 18 years together. Okay. Now we're starting to get in the lower digits. Melanie Griffith and Antonio Banderas. She got into like drugs, man, right? Like I think at the end she was all drugged up. Filed divorce after 18 years. You guys get the point, right? Now I had someone on social media going, you can't use celebrities as examples. Like, why not? Why not? They had longevity in their marriage. Why would it be any different? Why would it be any different? Oh, they have more temptations than the average person. Do they? I don't know about that. I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but still, you would think that if they were together for 26 years or whatever, that was a success, but clearly it's not, because it still ends in divorce. Okay. You guys get the point. What are people saying in the chat here? Mike says, I wonder if any of our Michael Knowles memes will make an appearance. I don't have any memes today. Let's see here. Nurse Chick says, nothing like scorched earth. Cappy moment Monday morning. I got to get into a rant state. I do. I gotta build this up. I'm going through like articles and stuff though. So maybe we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Mike says it is a success for the women. Let's see here. Nathan says the women that divorces you is not the women that you married. True. Time is not a gauge of success. I agree with that. And then let's see here. Mike Steele. No spoilers, bro. Like, I've been married 47 years. Great. How's the sex? We're after the 8-minute mark. We can say that. Speaking of that, we do have a super chat. Brother Nathan with $2 super chat. I'm going to give you this one here. Let's see.
Here he is, biggest swinging dick in the West.
Yeah, biggest swinging dick in the West for a $2 super chat. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. All right. So we looked at that, right? The BuzzFeed. So clearly longevity by itself is not a guarantee. It's not a measure of success, because just because you've been married for 20 years doesn't mean you're not going to get divorced at 22 years or 25 years or 26 years or 28 years. Okay. There's no guarantee. All right. It's not a measure of success. Guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some free stickers. Girl, you know I'm a bad boy. If you don't want the stickers, just put don't want stickers in the address field. But you do get 20 dating app openers that are guaranteed to capture a woman's attention in the first 7 words. You also get a free chapter of my book, Everything I Wished I Knew When I Was 18, which is available in hardcover, paperback, Kindle edition, and Audible. If you guys have an Audible subscription, and you guys have an extra credit, or you guys have your standard monthly credit, and you're wondering what book to get my book on Audible. Okay. RP Thor did the narration for that. And the guys do check out the dating course. dates.comeonmanpod.com. I am giving a 50% discount for the entire month of May. 70% of relationships start online nowadays, but you're tired of being stuck in the dating app dead end. Swipe after swipe, and all you get is ghosted or worse, bot matches. The problem isn't you. It's that most dating apps are designed to favor the top 20% of guys. And if your profile isn't up to par, you're just another swipe left. The solution? No cold approach in the cow pasture. While the course may have a funny name, it will show you how to optimize your dating profile. It will show you how to take perfect photos and write bios that get you noticed. You'll also learn how to spot and avoid bots, catfish, and time wasters. I originally designed this course for guys who live in rural flyover country, where the opportunity to meet women organically in person just isn't possible, or your options are severely limited. But this course will work for guys in big cities too. In fact, it'll work better for guys that live in big cities because you have way more options than guys that live out in rural areas. Wherever you are, no cold approach in the cow pasture will help you meet high quality women in your area. It will help you to close for more dates than you ever thought possible. Because not only do I teach you how to optimize your online dating profile on dating apps, the real secret sauce is I show you how to meet women on Facebook and Instagram and how to slide into their DMs using a virtual cold approach method using video messages. Ready to be a part of the top 20%? Don't miss your chance. Visit dates.comeonmanpod.com. That's dates.comeonmanpod.com to sign up now. And for the entire month of May, take 50% off with code MAY50 at checkout. All right. You know what? I really think that what's screwing up my browser is BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed's killing me today. Let's turn this off because that's annoying. But you guys do check out the course, okay? All right. Wow, look at this. Everything is so slow. Hopefully there's no lag for you guys. But let me get this here. I think it's just because BuzzFeed has so many damn ads on their site. So let's take a look at some pie charts, guys. Okay. Now, I made these pie charts based off of data from Ryan Stone's book on dread, which I have here, right? Ryan Stone's book on dread. So I made some quick pie charts, okay? That's not what we want. We want this. Share screen. Let's show these pie charts. Boom. Here we go. Share. So marriage and percentage, right? Out of 100% of marriages, roughly 50% end in divorce, okay? We know that. We know that now. It's like, right? You jump out of an airplane with a parachute and there's a 50-50 chance of the parachute not opening. But do you still jump? Do you still jump? Okay. Some people are like, yeah, I'll take that bet. So half of these people stay, half these people go. Right? Makes sense. Out of the people that stay, out of the 50%, so 100% of the 50%, half, according to Ryan's book, report being happy after a long period of time. So like over 7 years, they still report being happy. The other half report being unhappy. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that 75% of people who get married end up being unhappy. Right? 75%. That means only 25% of people end up being happy in the long run. Okay? This is to give you a visual on this, okay? Just to give you a visual. So a quarter of people, only a quarter of people end up being happy in the long run, okay? The rest are unhappy in some way. Those odds are terrible. Those odds are absolutely terrible. How can you say just being married is a measure of success, or even being married for a long time is a measure of success, when 75% of people end up being unhappy? That can't be a measure of success. Okay. my parents are coming up on their 50th wedding anniversary. They pretty much hate each other. They can't live without each other at this point. They're so old that they're very dependent on each other, but they're not happy. They're not happy. They bitch about each other constantly. Right. I was over there yesterday hanging out with my mom for Mother's Day, and like anything, like my mom, she can't not talk about politics. She's like addicted to politics. So of course the conversation always like goes off on this tangent of politics. And I was talking about how at some point in there, I go, it amazes me how many people are addicted to politics. They're addicted to talking about politics. That's all they could ever talk about. My dad's just pointing his finger. He's like, that's your mom. She's a but you know what? My dad used to be like that too. I used to be like that too, right? I broke that addiction, but my mom still has it. So anyway, it turns out that Ryan's 25% number, which was an estimate anyway, right? But Ryan's 25% number of people being happy is pretty optimistic, honestly. That's actually pretty optimistic. I have this other BuzzFeed article, and then I could get rid of these damn BuzzFeed articles that are killing my browser. I had this other BuzzFeed article here that they were interviewing this, I think it was a lady that wrote a book. What was her book? Author and film director Dana Adam Shapiro. I wonder if is she related to Ben Shapiro? But she wrote a book called You Could Be Right or You Could Be Married. Okay. And they were asking her about it. And she was saying, she goes, I think 17% of marriages are happy. Only 17%. So Ryan's 25% is pretty optimistic, right? But she says, I think 17% of marriages are happy. 50% of marriages end, and marriages, and of marriages that stay together, I think a third are happy. A third are happy enough, and a third are unhappy. If I could be in the 17% that's happy, I'd like to get married. Otherwise, I'm really happy living alone and being an uncle. Oh, I guess it's a dude and being an uncle. Okay. But I really do think the book has given me tools to have the important conversations, losing the fear of rejection, and saying blah, blah, blah. Okay. So basically this person, I'm bringing this one up because they estimate that only 17% of people are happy in their long-term relationships, long-term marriages. And that was after they did research for their book. Okay. Now, but Paul, aren't there studies that show that people who are married are happier? Aren't there studies, Paul, that show that people who get married are happier? Don't you guys hear that all the time? Don't you hear that all the time? Men live longer, right? Or whatever. Men live longer and they're healthier and they're happier in marriage. Apparently that's bullshit. Apparently that's complete bullshit. I found this article from psychcentral.com. Right. And let me go down here to the end bottom here where the, let's see here. Where is it? The bottom line, right? So I want to share this. The bottom line. Here we go. Yeah. Psych Central. Bottom line, the combined results. So this person did their own research, found out that a lot of those studies on people are happier in the long run when they're married are completely biased studies. It's not true at all, right? So he says the combined results of 18 long-term studies showed that getting married did not make people any happier, and that satisfaction with the relationship actually decreased over time. The only hint of a benefit was a brief increase in life satisfaction around the time of the wedding, which soon went away. All of these failures to find that getting married makes you happier come from a set of studies biased in favor of making marriage look better than it really is. In a subsequent study that made the bias even stronger by definitively including in the married group only those who got married and stayed married, that group of people who got married and stayed married still did not report any greater life satisfaction over the long run than they had experienced when they were single. The authors then tried to argue that people who get married are happier in the long run than if they had remained single, but for all the reasons I described above, that is not a compelling argument either. And even with all of the ways in which the study was biased to favor the conclusion that getting married will make you happier, the best they could do was find a difference in happiness of less than a third of a point on a 7-point scale. What would have happened if they included all the people who ever married in the marriage group? Probably even that small difference would disappear. In this article, I have focused on the implications of marrying for happiness. The methodological, I can't read today, points that I'm making, though, are equally relevant to studies of getting married and getting healthier, having more or better sex, living longer, and everything else. All these unsuccessful attempts to make married people look better should be more than enough to keep other scholars and journalists from jumping off the deep end with their fortune cookie proclamations. Get married, get happier. But sadly, they aren't. The marriage-addled scientists and writers and pundits just keep on perpetuating the myth that getting married magically transforms sad singles into blissful couples. That's just embarrassing. So, yeah, if you guys read that whole article, he goes into it. He's got links to other studies and all these other things debunking that whole people who are married like are happier. It's just fucking bullshit. It's just not fucking true. Okay. For a vast majority of people. Okay. So think about this a bit, right? If out of 100% of people who get married, there's only a 17 to 25% chance that people are still happy in the long term, how can you possibly think that simply being married together for a long period of time is some kind of metric for success? How can you possibly think that? All right. All you did was not quit. But at what cost? The cost of your own happiness, maybe? That's not success, okay? But hold that thought. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Guys, join the beer club. Join the beer club, God damn it. It's a good group of dudes, red pill aware guys that you can shoot the shit with, network with, swap notes with. It's a good outlet for men. Men need to connect with other men for our mental health, okay? And most guys don't have an outlet for that. So beer club's your outlet for that. It's only $10 a month. Check that out. Our next meetup's going to be on the 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We have a couple of European guys in there now. And so we're eventually, if we get more European guys in the beer club, we're going to have like morning meetups. And I would say morning my time, so that you guys we can hang out with the European guys. And then they can actually participate in the meetups, because when we have it at 7 p.m. Eastern, like most of them are in bed, like that's just not a good time for them. But right now we only have 2 guys in there from Europe. We have one guy from Australia, and he actually does make it to the meetups. It's just it's not beer time. Well, he's Australian. It's all time, all hours of the day is beer time for Australians. I don't know. That's prejudice, Paul. And he shows up upside down. It's weird. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's look at one more thing. I just saw this clip from The Quartering, which I don't typically watch The Quartering, but I happened to notice that they had Joker from Better Bachelor on, and I don't typically like Joker's content either, honestly, right? I fucking hate MGTOW content. So the fact that I had to watch this fucking clip should tell you everything you need to know about this fucking topic, all right?
This terminology a lot about sexless marriages.
Yep.
What can you say about that? Like, I feel like a lot of men might be in that type of scenario, and because I keep hearing it mentioned, at least in your space, like in kind of the men's advocacy space.
Well, you even brought up a statistic the other day that shines a light on that. Do you remember when you're talking about only fools and who's the one spending the money on it?
Husbands.
90% married men. And so
yeah.
I
was shocked by that. I really was.
I did a video on it, and I'm like, here I've been making fun of these single dudes, like, go out and date, stop doing this, guys. And I was yelling at the wrong group of dudes.
Now, I'll tell you this. That was shocking to me by itself, that Joker is telling single guys to go out and date. Like, what? I thought that was not his shtick. I thought his shtick was to give up on women completely and to commiserate. And, but if he's actually out there telling guys to go out and date and have fun, and his whole thing is just don't get married, maybe we can hang out. Maybe we can hang out. I know he and Cappy are friends. They went hiking together. So I wonder like how hardcore of a hiker is Joker? Because like, could he keep up with Cappy? Because I run a lot, right? I run like today, I'm gonna go run 5.25 miles today. I have a hard time keeping up with that son of a bitch Cappy, right? Like, but if Joker could do that, and maybe I got him pegged all wrong, right? But I'm not a personal fan of either of these guys, but I'm cool with Cappy and he likes these guys, so I'll leave it at that. Anyway, isn't that shocking though? 90% of OnlyFans subscribers are married men. How the fuck can you call any kind of longevity in marriage a success when men who are married are having to subscribe to OnlyFans? Right? Are you fucking kidding me? Well, he's married, bro. He's married. You're not married, bro. Yeah, he's married and subscribed to OnlyFans. Are you fucking kidding me? That's not success. All right? Why are these married dudes having to subscribe to OnlyFans? Because they're not getting sex at home. They're in sexless marriages. Oh, but Paul, sex fades over time in a relationship. That's normal. No, it's not. It's not fucking normal. It's that people don't like each other after a long period of time. And they lose that attraction and they're unhappy. Okay? A vast majority of them. Oh, but Paul, I know this one couple that they're really happy. Okay. They've been together forever and they love each other and they dote on each other. That's in the 17%. Okay. Yeah, I would say that is a successful marriage. That's great. If they are still like having wild, kinky sex after, like they've been together for 20 years and they're still banging it out and they still are madly in love with each other. Yes, that is a success, but it's in the minority. It's an exception. It's not the rule. Okay. So what happened, guys? What happened? Why are people so unhappy? And why are divorces happening at a 50% rate? Who's to blame? I blame the women. Just kidding. It's easy to blame to women. I got a couple of things here, that stuff that we can think about. Okay. We've got this. My man Rollo Tomasi, he came up with this chart a couple months ago. I think it was the first time he brought it up. And I reached out to him and asked him for it. I was like, hey, Rollo, can you send me that chart? He's been connecting the dots on this hypothesis. All right. So what he did was he overlaid CDC data over top of census data, and he put these two lines together. He's correlating these two graphs, and it's pretty fascinating. But what we're looking at here is the invention of the birth control pill and the use of the birth control pill in women, and the rise of the divorce rate. And would you look at that? They're almost fucking identical. They're almost fucking identical, right? Look at that. The rise of the use of birth control pills, chemical birth control, and the divorce rate all went up around the same period of time. What are the fucking odds? What are the fucking odds of that? So Rollo's connected that dot, right? Those dots. So shout out to Rollo Tomasi, godfather of the red pill. Now this study here I found suggests that the pill, the reason why that might be, I'll drop this in the chat here. The reason why that might be is, let me bring this up on the screen. Come on, StreamYard. Come on. The reason why the pill has impacted the divorce rate. There's studies on this. So these guys said, well, this paper explores the relationship between the advent of birth control and divorce rates. Women using the pill can decide when and whether to have children and whether to maintain their attachment to the labor force. This ability may increase women's autonomy, making divorce more feasible. The pill's effects are identified through a quasi-experiment exploiting differences in the language of the Comstock anti-obscenity statutes approved in the late 1800s and early 1900s in the United States. Empirical evidence from the state-level data on U.S. divorce rates 1950 to 1985 shows that sales bans of oral contraceptives have a negative impact on divorce. These findings are robust to alternative specifications and controls for observed, such as women's labor force participation and unobserved state-specific factors and time-varying factors at the state level. Results suggest that the impact of women's control of hormonal contraception on their autonomy is important in divorce decisions. But these guys are basically arguing that the pill gives women more autonomy, making divorce more feasible to them, right? It's about these women have choice now, okay? They're not held down by the patriarchy, so that's why they're divorcing the men, right? But this other study I found has a different conclusion here. Let's see here. This other study shows a different conclusion. I'll drop a link to that here. Where is it here? We'll just read a little bit of it. Here we go. Most of us are probably aware that the birth control pill can cause women to experience sexual side effects. But did you know that the pill might also influence who women are attracted to and even who they choose as partners and their likelihood of staying married? It may sound too sci-fi to be true, but as we all know, truth is often far stranger than fiction. Before I throw us both in the deep end of the research, I just want to remind you what the birth control pill is made of: artificial sex hormones. And what sex hormones do: flip billions of switches on and off in cells throughout your body, influencing the version of yourself that your body creates. This means that the pill is going to influence your love and sex-related brain circuitry. It would be impossible for it not to. Although this general idea and the research looking into it is still in its infancy, the data that do suggest that the pill might influence who you're attracted to, the dynamics of your relationships, the quality of your sex life, how jealous you are, how you respond to your partner's face, how sexy you are to others, and your likelihood of getting divorced. In other words, the pill can influence pretty much everything that matters when it comes to love, sex, and relationships. It may even be influencing yours. For example, in one study, researchers brought heterosexual women into a research lab and allowed them to use a special computer program to manipulate the appearance of photographs of male and female faces. They could change the appearance of the men and women in the photographs by adjusting their jaw height, face width, cheekbone prominence, and so on. The researchers asked the women to manipulate the features on the male face to create the face of their ideal short-term or long-term romantic partner, male face. They also asked them to manipulate the features on the female face to create the face of a maximally attractive woman, female faces which were used as a control. The women came into the lab and completed this task in two different time points: once before they began taking the birth control pill and once around 3 months after they began. When the researchers compared the two sets of images, pre-pill and post-pill, they found that women's ideal male, but not female, faces became significantly less masculine once they started taking the birth control pill. In a second study, these same researchers looked at whether women who are on the pill actually choose men with less masculine faces as relationship partners relative to their non-pill taking counterparts. To this end, they compared the facial masculinity of a sample of men whose partners chose them when they were on the birth control pill to a sample of men whose partners chose them when they were not. Facial masculinity was assessed by having the faces rated by a separate sample of participants. What they found was that pill-taking women not only prefer somewhat less masculine male faces, they are also more likely to choose such men as partners. So when women are on the pill, they are more attracted to beta males. Okay? When they get off the pill, they are more attracted to alpha males. Okay? Just to simplify all of that. We know in the red pill space that this is because when a woman is on the pill, it essentially tricks her body into thinking she's already pregnant. And when she's pregnant, she's looking for beta comfort, right? Women's hypergamy requires both alpha fucks, beta bucks. So when they're on the pill, they're looking for the beta bucks. They have that nesting impulse. Okay. So they're looking for beta comfort. And then when she's off the pill, right? When she's off the pill, she starts looking at this guy and goes, why the fuck am I with this guy? Right? Because it's an existential fear for women that they get saddled with a dutiful beta and have kids with a beta male, right? They don't want it. That's why women fight so hard for abortion, right? That is open hypergamy that's protected by the state. Because if they get pregnant by a beta male, they want the opportunity to end that, to not have that happen, right? So when she's off the pill, it's like post-nut clarity for women. When she's off the pill, it's like post-nut clarity for women, right? They realize that they got saddled with the beta, they lose attraction, and they love him, but they're not in love with him, right? And they don't know why. They don't know why. And then they blindside the guy with a divorce, right? The poor beta guy didn't know what hit him. Completely fucking blindsided. Just mulling along, thinking that everything's happy. They've been married for so many years, right? Because they were holding off on having kids. And so she's been on the pill this whole time. And then when she gets off the pill so they can start having kids, she's like, wait a second. I don't want to have kids with this fucking guy, right? Or she has kids with this guy and then realizes that, after they have a couple of kids, she's just like, what the fuck? What did I do? How did I get saddled with this fucking guy? Right. He thought everything was great. And then bam, she's unhappy. Right. This sort of thing is a very common story for men who end up in this space. Right now. So that's one reason why this thing is happening. Right. In Thor's book, A Dominant Masculine Presence, I highly recommend you guys read that. I'm on my second pass on Audible. But Thor also lists out a few other reasons why people are filing for divorce in such high rates, right? He says, aside from irreconcilable differences, the top reasons given are as follows. Infidelity. This is led statistically by women. And he cites a New York Post story on that. Financial disagreements, weight gain, attraction, anyone, he says. Lack of intimacy, aka a dead bedroom. Once again, attraction, anyone. Okay. And he cites a study on that. College-educated women tend to initiate divorce at significantly higher rates than non-college educated women. Why do you think that is? Because they're all boss bitches? What do you think? The leading indicators of divorce in couples where both work is when the woman receives a promotion that increases her salary above that from her man. So a woman starts making more money than her man and she starts losing attraction for him. Why? Because hypergamy, right? She needs to see guys as better than them somehow. And a lot of that's monetary, right? Although I'll tell you what, there's a lot of boss bitches out there these days. A lot of women are making their own money. A lot of women are starting to make more money than men, right? So if you're in a relationship and a woman starts making more money than you, I think a lot of the times it's the guy. I think it's a lot of times it's the guy in his own head about her making more money, and his insecurities start coming out, you know? But money is the beta side of hypergamy. Okay. Money's the beta side of hypergamy. And if you have good frame and you have good game, money doesn't matter. I have this friend, he's one of my 3% brothers, and he makes good money, but he's dating a multimillionaire chick, and she fucking loves him, right? Because when she and he get together, she starts like trying to make all these decisions, starts getting all boss bitchy with him and stuff like that. And he's like, we're not doing that. We're doing things my way. And she just fucking loves it. She just loves that he takes control, he makes decisions, and he just fucking leads that relationship. She fucking absolutely loves it, because most of these boss bitches, the last thing they want when they come home is to make decisions and stuff like that. They want to be able to relax in their feminine, and they need a strong masculine guy that could do that. So money doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it, but he's got really strong frame and he's got really fucking good game, right? So just food for thought, guys. Okay, food for thought. Now, Ryan Stone, that son of a bitch, fucking genius. World's best red pill couch, guys. Perfect teeth, great hair. Fuck that guy. Actually, like Ryan, he's good. He's a good guy. I learned a lot from Ryan. Learned a lot from Ryan, Thor, Apex Mindset, Paul Benjamin, Rollo. I learned a lot from all those guys. I like all these guys. But Ryan has an interesting take on who killed marriage in his book, Dread. Okay, because we're talking about who's to blame, like what happened, right? So Ryan says this. So who killed marriage? No one. We are holding on to the past in the same way the dog thinks the cage is still closed. And you've heard me say already that no one is coming to save you. And this is the worst part. Everyone who claims to be helping you is actually leading you astray. They want to replace a bad set of moral maxims with a new set. The issue isn't that they are mad at the boot on your neck. It's that it's not their boot. I wouldn't expect you to want to trade one master for another. The goal is to be your own. Many thought leaders are cheerleading the idea of don't get married. This is the exact problem with other people attempting to help men, whether it's the men's rights advocates, the men going their own way, or other self-help groups. They are replacing one set of categorical imperatives and moral maxims with another. Even if well-intentioned, choosing a different master isn't an answer. Instead, understand this. Marriage is a bad deal for men, and it's no one's fault. Feminists didn't kill marriage. The shift of technology and environment did. Feminism is the side effect. It takes the same primitive idea that our Paleolithic women had to sleep with the best option for her and use sex to secure resources from the rest and apply it on a societal level. Feminism is a tactic, a nagging housewife who demands everything and claims nothing is ever good enough. The reason I bring this up is because everyone is in a relationship with a feminist, whether they admit it or not. Women may not say this. Fish can't explain the concept of water either. Women have learned that by playing the victim, being the angry, complaining nag, or being the equivalent of the overachieving daughter, they were able to secure more for themselves. From men by weaponizing your innate protection instincts. It's a worldwide test, and men are failing it. Well-meaning dads fell for it. Well-meaning husbands fell for it. Well-meaning politicians fell for it. And well-meaning company leaders fell for it. Porn didn't kill marriage. I would argue, and many have, that porn has saved more relationships than it's destroyed. Between the mental health crisis, birth control side effects, declining birth rate, hormonal side effects, etc., and the commercial success that comes from SSRIs and birth control as a solution, it's a case of no raindrop being responsible for the floor. Sex drives are worse than they have ever been. And again, no one is to blame, and everyone is. Aside from the chemical castrations above, men have an instinctive need for sexual variety and conquest, and porn scratches that itch without the socially destructive alternatives. Sorry, Obi-Wan, these aren't the droids you're looking for. Video games and leisure time haven't killed marriage. People think that men playing video games into their 30s and 40s have ruined things, but ask your grandfather. Men were gambling, drinking, and smoking while working on model train sets, and those activities were far worse for a man's health and relationship. A woman mad that her husband played Fortnite for 8 hours is far better off than a woman mad at her husband for losing the rent money at the horse track. Who killed marriage? No one did. It's an economic reality. It's Breitholt's law for the modern age. If you're unfamiliar with Robert Breitholt's, if you're unfamiliar, Robert Breitholt coined it in the 19th century. The female, not the male, determines all the conditions of the animal family. Where the female can derive no benefit from association with the male, no such association takes place. So Ryan says, no one killed it, right? It just is a natural evolution of what's going on in society. So with only 25% or less of people actually claiming to be happy in the long term, when it comes to marriage, then again, I ask, how can one consider that longevity by itself is any kind of metric of success? Okay. How can you even consider just getting married success in dating at all? Okay. You didn't quit when everyone else did. So what? What are you really gaining by just not quitting and staying miserable? Rollo Tomasi has a good take on this in The Rational Male. Okay. If you guys haven't read The Rational Male yet, the fuck are you doing with your lives? He's got a chapter called The Paradox of Commitment. Rollo says, the concept of commitment is a fantastic utility for women. Men can be simultaneously shamed for not sticking to a commitment that benefits them and still be ashamed for steadfastly adhering to a commitment that doesn't. The social convention is so developed, there's even a cute term for it: commitment phobic or committophobe. There's an interesting control of the message here. The principle of commitment is cast in feminine-centric perfection. The idea is that commitment should only have meaning in a feminine-defined reality. Ironically, it's men who commit far more readily to ideals, family, military, business ventures, or partnerships, and servitude than women have the capacity to appreciate. Because recognizing this doesn't serve their imperative. In other words, a commitment to anything that doesn't directly benefit the feminine isn't commitment. Answer: redefine commitment to uniquely reflect feminine interests. Whenever I get into these debates about infidelity, albeit usually from the male perspective, and it becomes an immoral, amoral, moralist message a trois, I wonder, what is the greater moral imperative? To remain faithful to your morally obligated commitment with your spouse in spite of a loveless, passionless, sexless partner, or to break that commitment in order to pursue the obligation and commitment you owe yourself as a superior man deserving of a better quality partner? What I think about this, what's funny about this, I mean, Rollo wrote this a long time ago, is that he used to use the word partner and now he advocates to not use the word partner. Just something I noticed when I was going through this. Anyway, what has moral priority? A commitment to yourself or a commitment to marriage? You see, it's easy to wave the flag of self-righteousness when the issue is a right versus wrong issue. It's much more difficult when the question is right versus right. I have no doubt that all the answers to this will be entirely circumstantial, rationalized twisting in the wind, and maybe that's what decides for you. But think about it for a moment in the terms of what one must sacrifice for the other. Whatever you cannot say no to is your master and makes you its slave. This is a favorite go-to trope for moral arguments, where there's a clearly defined right and wrong. However, by this definition, then does not commitment make you a slave by default? If by the circumstances of a commitment you cannot figuratively say no to that or due to that commitment, are you then not a slave? You could even take marriage out of the equation. If I'm in a committed LTR with a girlfriend, and over the course of that relationship, I realize that she's not what I'm looking for any number of reasons, not just sex. Even though she's 100% faithfully committed to me and the LTR, should I then break that commitment? If I do, am I then being unethical for having broken that commitment, irrespective of how I break it? Should the commitment be my own personal well-being and future happiness? Should the commitment to my own personal well-being and future happiness be compromised by another commitment? What's my obligation? Neglect myself in favor of a bad commitment, or to the principle of commitment itself? It's my take that commitment should be a function of genuine desire. Ideally, commitment should be to something one is so passionate about that the limiting of one's own future opportunities that come from the commitment is an equitable and mutually appreciated exchange. This is unfortunately rare. This is unfortunately rare the cases for most people in any form of commitment, because people, circumstance, opportunity, and conditions are always in flux. A commitment that had been as an equitable sacrifice at one time can become debilitating 5 years after it, depending on circumstances. So what I'm getting at here, or what I'm getting at, is, where do you draw the line? People go all kinds of crazy when I suggest a guy next some girl that's obviously showing all the indications that she's using him or has proven so. And when 2 comments down suggest that it's the man's obligation to vet women by walking away. If I have one life to live and one precious lifetime to do it in, what is more important? A commitment to oneself in learning and securing the best options for a lifetime, or being committed to the principle of self-sacrifice and commitment? In the community, he's talking about the red pill community. In the community, we brazenly tell freshman chumps to dedicate themselves to self-improvement, to seek out and accomplish what's best for them. In other words, to uncompromisingly commit themselves to their own cause in as positive as a positive manner as possible. I'd argue that genuine desire is a necessary precursor to this, but in advocating this self-concerned improvement, are we not then doing them a disservice if their duty ought to be focused on the principle of commitment, even when the commitment is or becomes deleterious to their commitment to a positive self? What holds more water, being a martyr to a chivalrous commitment, or a steadfast dedication to ourselves? Should we not then hold AFCs in the highest respect when they selflessly sacrifice their futures due to their devoted commitment to a one-itis girl who will never reciprocate on, much less appreciate that commitment? We'd call them chumps. But in contrast to their devotion to the principle of commitment, maybe they've got it right. You can't doubt their, albeit misguided, dedication to their convictions. So what are you sacrificing for? Right? You just didn't quit. Well, everyone else quit and I didn't. Right? That's now you're just arguing your virtue, but like at what cost, right? Now, if you're in the 17 to 25%, if you're in the 17 20 to 25% that's truly happy, that's great. Okay, that's great. I'm happy for you. Just know that what you have is rare. Okay? It's rare. It's an exception. It's not the rule. All right. So what is successful? Right? What is successful? If longevity isn't, what is successful, Paul? Well, I found this article in the Red Pill Archive, and I thought it will give you something to think about. All right. Whether you agree with it or not, it's just something to think about. Let's share this tab here. The Red Pill Archive, guys. Marriage 2.0. When is a marriage successful? I thought this was interesting. It was written by a guy named U.E. McGill back in 2017. And he said, success in coffins. I once heard the phrase, the only successful marriage is someone standing next to a coffin, and couldn't help but chuckle inside. The blue pill harpies love to laugh and wallow in the supposed failure when one of our brethren is about to end his marriage. The funny thing is, where's the failure? In investing, there's the sunk cost fallacy, and it applies to life too. It's a value we discuss often here. We challenge the guys in shitty relationships to not get stuck in it. Yet there are the naysayers laughing at those guys. Oh, look, another MERP has sabotaged his marriage. Several threads in the past week or so have discussed the states of marriage. This is a supposition on my part, but in one of those threads, I posited that probably 80% of marriages are just okay. If you're looking at a bell curve, maybe 10% on either side or on either end were extreme. 10% were disasters and 10% were excellent. but the middle hump is likely just meh. Divorce now stands at 40 to 50%, depending on your source. The supposed positive, divorce numbers continue to decline, but those numbers are likely skewed. Men and women are living together and marrying less. Men are opting out of marriage, likely due to the penalty of divorce, among other things. It's possible that many of the divorces of the past are not happening simply because people cohabitate. The relationship ends and they move on. So the question still remains, if your marriage or LTR ends in divorce, was it a failure? Of course it's not. That's simply the attitude of someone who has no outcome independence or abundance mentality. Let me give you a simple analogy. You set up a great vacation and you take the trip of a lifetime. You go to some amazing tropical paradise or old world destination. You eat, drink, and be merry. One day before the trip is over, your wallet gets stolen. Would you call that trip a failure? Hardly. The end may have sucked. The fallout may have been a pain, but in the end, you'll look back at those pictures and say, oh, wow, that's incredible. I can't wait to do it again. Now, I don't know a lot of people who have gone through divorce who are like, yeah, I want to do that again. Yeah, that was wonderful. I want to do that again. Although there are a lot of guys that have been married 4 or 5 times. So maybe there's lots of those fucking guys out there. I don't know. Ric Flair, I'm looking at you. Anyway. Vacations and wallets. I've been lucky enough to have 3 serious relationships in my life. One was in college. She was a fun party gal who was down for anything. She was the first gal I thought I could see myself with in the long term. The second was a girl I met just out of college. She was finishing up her degree in grad school. I was a young budding engineer, and she really knew how to challenge my intellect. So to this day, she was the wittiest girl I have ever dated. Searing, dry, and goofy would spill out of her mouth in a matter of seconds. She'd leave you gasping and wondering, was that an insult or was she flirting? Currently, I'm in my most recent. I met my wife through work, and she had a proper resume for being my missus. She was funny, attractive, low end count, wanted a traditional family, the package. Throw in dating in between some short-term flings and plenty of frogs instead of princesses, and you have the sum of U.E. McGill's love life. These were and are still successful relationships, and to date, none have ended with me. To this date, none have ended with me standing next to a coffin. I talked to my wife about aspirations for our kids, how to teach them when a relationship has met its natural end. My biggest fault was those early long-term relationships probably went on too long because I didn't know how to say, yep, this has run its course. I was too invested in the memories of the past and the romanticized version I had in my head. I think especially guys with a nice guy tendency get so invested in trying to fix things that they forget to say, yep, not worth fixing. Time to move on and put energy into something else. I hope that I can impart this on my kids, that it's okay to say we've changed and the relationship is different now and not for the better. Maybe it's time to end it. People get caught up in the past. They romanticize it for what it was, not for what it is. What it is in the past. It will have no ability. To change the present from where you are at now. It's like a great vacation where you learned a lot about the world, but had your wallet stolen. You may have learned about the Louvre, or that elephants are matriarchal, but you also learned to keep your wallet in your front pocket and not advertise it. My relationships were fundamental in changing me and allowing me to grow to a different point. The girl in college taught me to never go back to a party. The girl early in my career taught me that sometimes someone is too insecure and demanding, no matter how much they make you laugh. My wife has taught me what it means to raise a family and give beyond just you. You know what? I wouldn't give any of those relationships up or the experience they provided. So how could I call them failures? If my wife asked me tomorrow for a divorce, would it be a failure? 3 kids and at least 15 years of good times would be hard evidence against it. Backstory to you 2.0. Sometimes people sabotage their marriages. Maybe they sprinkle some alpha on it. Maybe they vetted wrong. Maybe even both partners woke up and went, meh, surely that's not a failure. Just a change in circumstances. I think many people sabotage marriages, jobs, and friendships because they just don't have the courage to stand up and say, this ain't working. So remember, our mission isn't to save marriages. It's to save the man. You need to be able to step outside of the situation and ask yourself, Has this met its natural end, or is the value worth me putting effort into it? If you embrace abundance mentality, you know you can replace the contents of your wallet. You know that you can always look back and remember the fond memories. And you know you can always look back and say, this is where I learned to do ... So if you're miserable and she's miserable, be a leader and end it. There's no failure in that. Your mission should be and should always be focused on rule 0. If circumstances change, acknowledge and move on. Don't be afraid of failure, because if you can walk away from something and say, I learned to do X, Y, and Z, it's not a failure. All right. Something to think about, right? There's no winning in losing. There's winning in learning, right? All right, guys, that's all I got. Hopefully, I didn't go as scorched earth as you thought. I was pretty gentle with it. But hopefully that gives you guys some food for thought, right? Just because you've been married for a long time doesn't make it a success by itself. All right. And it's certainly not a guarantee. Okay. Now, if you still want to get married, I'm just saying, just understand it's a bad deal for men. Know what you're getting into. Okay. I personally don't recommend getting married, but that's me. Okay. But if that's some guys, that's their ultimate goal. They have to find a wifey. They're dating to find a wifey. Okay, cool. I hope it works out. Okay. Put as much effort into that as you can, and God bless you. Okay. But it's not a guarantee. And just not breaking up and being best friends and being in a sexless marriage, that you can't possibly call that a success. Okay. All right, guys, tune into the podcast Wednesday. I'll be going over the supplements I'm taking and why I'm taking them. Supplements seem to be a fun topic for the boys in beer club, so I figured other guys in the space probably are interested in that too. Should be fun. It'll be more relaxing off the cuff than this stream. Okay. Other than that, we don't have any other super chats. So we'll just go through this. Guys, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications if you haven't done so already. I have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks to everybody that sounded off in the comment section. I appreciate you. That helps us in the algorithm. And also is fun interacting with you guys. Thank you to Brother Nathan for sending a super chat. I appreciate that. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list. I'll send you some free stuff, including a free chapter of my book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18, which is available on Audible. If you guys have an Audible credit that you haven't used this month, get my book. All right. And then, guys, do check out the dating course. It is 50% off for the entire month of May. I'll drop a link to that in the chat again. If you use code May50 at checkout, you can get that for 50% off. That offer ends at the end of the month. Okay. So get it while the getting's good. And you can go to dates.comeonmanpod.com and use code May50 at checkout for that. And then guys, do join the beer club. The next meetup is May 23rd. Other than that, we will see you guys on Wednesday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.